What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
That
We
was
short
a
circuited
full
gremlin
Brit
mode.
Pong.
Yeah, that was a British aneurysm right there.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Could've said
because
I like it preferred with salt.
they're already speaking borderline gibberish. So once they have an aneurysm, it becomes full gibberish.
Indeed.
Hey.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I am Sir Johann Gasmask Esquire III, Meat Man Extraordinaire.
I am
And
Lionel Johnson, the local meat lover.
and I'm Alfonso Miguel, your dashing robot husbando.
And today we are joined by...
Big E, also known as Ruler of Humanity at X.com. How are all of you doing today?
He's my hero. He's my father.
Yes, and I hate you.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So, Salty is whipped, so he's not going to be here
He is indisposed.
for this episode, yes.
Damn.
Yeah, kind of sad.
Can we actually have a moment of silence for the homie that's lost?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No.
All right, and just like that, we're not going to
Gotta give the retired Space Marine his due.
All right. So, Custodes. Let's start off with what everyone knows. I know them in passing.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have orders. I know they have, like, I know a little bit, but it's, like, surface level at best.
Yeah, I have a rough high-level understanding of them because actually, hilariously enough, it was because of Henry Cavill that I got interested in them at all. Because he mentioned that that's the army that he prefers to run, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What is this all about? And I see it, and I'm like, oh, I understand. But I don't know a lot of the deep lore, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lion.
I mean,
they're really cool.
Right. I mean, you know, they're obviously they're an older faction because you know they were there during Rogue Trader, but their lore was more fluffed up during the 8th edition, I believe. So
yeah, that's about when they got an actual codex, I think.
They used to be naked boys with just helmets.
That, and they were more comparative to just they were like gold Space Marines. They were just a chapter made for the Emperor, but then it was an 8th edition. We're like, no, they're actually demigods, almost on par with the Primarchs. So
Right.
Calm down now, sir.
Hey, listen, okay.
I mean, if you read the Nathaniel Garrow omnibus, he beat a Custodes in a duel.
Mm-hmm.
And the Custodes was like, yeah, well, I let you win. But it wasn't like he actually let him win. It was a very petty Custodes. Like, he was a dick.
I mean, that's kind of their character's traits, that they are dicks.
Yeah, I was about to say, they kind of, I think, take that after the Emperor, where that's, no offense, Biggie. Oh, that's going to be a weird thing. I have to be really careful about shit-talking the Emperor this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to get psychically blasted.
Yeah, be real damn shame if you have a fucking mid-tag. You'd be like, yeah, the Emperor's coming. I was like, oh, what happened? Oh, no.
I can hear the gut burbling of the warp storm now.
Yeah, right. There.
All right, so let's get into them proper. So overview, what are they, broad sense? And as far as I know, they are giant golden gene augmented, actually not even gene augmented, gene tailored bodyguards for the Emperor. And they've got a bunch of fucking like, what is it, like orders or chapters or...
I believe there's only 1,000 of them, isn't there?
Nope, there's actually 10,000, and there's
10,000.
five main shield hosts. That's their organization. So,
Okay.
We'll get into the
think of, like,
organization later. But
oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
it-
so
yeah.
from
Go.
my exterior perspective, they are the honor guard of the emperor. They are the people that they are human, from what I understand. They aren't heavily externally augmented like the Space Marines are. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
Oh, you are incredibly wrong.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they are way,
Don't
way.
listen to him. He's bullshitting you. Go on.
Okay.
But then, and the concept of them was they're, like I said before, they're the Emperor's honor guard, but they're warrior poets. They are genuine warrior poets. And it's sort of the Knights Errant, like, where if the Custodians are the crusading warriors, these are the Knights of the Round Table almost, but done up to 1,000,000.
I would say the Dark Angels are more of a, Knights with the Round Table, but the Custodians are more like,
I almost
those.
want to say they're stealing directly from the Holy Roman Empire, or at least the one they had in Greece with the Thanagarians, which were basically just like Norse mercenaries they used specifically as a bodyguard.
Yeah, like a Praetorian guard that's just the Emperor's.
Was it
That's
Thanagarians or what? It was some word like that.
Might have been the Varangians?
Yeah,
Varangians, yeah.
But they were like European mercenaries that came down to the Mediterranean during the Byzantine Empire.
But they got hired on at some point during the Byzantine Empire specifically to serve as the emperor's bodyguards.
Yeah, because they were blind to the familial politics.
But the Custodians weren't just to be his honor guard, but they were supposed to be like his, like
everything else.
Yeah, they're crap.
I kind of want to say
actually isn't the retirement plan kind of a pretty good descriptor of their sort of intended role? Weirdly enough,
where they end up being spies and shit.
No, the name though. The I think is the Eyes of the Emperor.
Yeah, that's where once they realize that they're not at their 100%, they're at like 99%. They voluntarily give up their weapons and arms and take on a dark cloak, become a Eye of the Emperor, which is where they go to different systems, set up spy rings to basically inform the Captain General himself. Like, they don't talk to anyone else but the Captain General. And then they inform him of future
that'll be really
that
interesting
could
to talk about,
endanger the Emperor.
So, from Big E's perspective, how would you, if you were to boil them down as an elevator pitch, what would you call them? The Custodians.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Sorry, I zoned out.
Yeah, sure. If you were to take from a Big E perspective on the throne, if you were to boil down the Adeptus Custodes, what would you elevator pitch them as? Like as a short, brief description of what they are and what they do.
The way for most people to understand them are like warrior poets, but they're not warriors first. They're politicians, they're writers, they're artists. Like, they are not meant to be warriors first and foremost, like the Space Marines. They were meant to be by the Emperor's side to help him, to guide him, to even give him advice. Like
sort of like a tailor-made like court of retainers almost, right?
Or like the president's cabinet, like they are supposed to be his advisors. Like, they are his generals, they are his commandants, they are whatever the Emperor needs them to be, like anything. But
we may get deeper into this in a later bit, but effectively what I'm hearing, I remember that there was a thing where Gilliman met the Emperor in current year, and he got called a weapon.
Yes.
So that's the maybe that's the delineation, is that these are not necessarily weapons, they're warriors.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it also, it's not really common knowledge, I believe, but the custodians were actually the first gene warriors the Emperor made before, the Thunder Warriors and the Space Marines.
What, they predate the Thunder Warriors?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. That's interesting.
And Constantine Valdor was actually the first custodian. He is actually the template the Emperor uses for every other custodian.
Nice.
Because he was the first. And he's regarded in the community as basically the Primarch of the custodians. Because, later down the line, we'll discuss it.
Well, also, he's still around.
Well, he's technically in his own realm, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a whole... Valdor's his own episode.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Okay.
That about covers the overview. Let's get down to the organization, which it's very simple, but given the naming system they use, it's kind of confusing, at least to my mind.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so they're what do you mean by organization? Are you going by their ranks, different branches?
So it's when we do organization, we go over the overall hierarchy, and then we break down into branches and stuff.
It's interesting to me because a lot of these names are very reminiscent of Greek names. Cataphractoi.
Now that I think about it, they do seem to me sort of like how Greek heroes were back in the day.
That's actually not a terrible descriptor.
At least in the mythos and shit, but
because from what I understand, they do act generally individually. Is that correct?
Yeah. They're so the Space Marines fight like a pack of wolves, where the custodians fight like a lion. They are meant to be an army, but they can work together. But they don't work like a fire team. They basically just come in a group together, be like, all right, I'm gonna take out this
you get the 400 on the left, I'll get the 400
yeah, pretty
on
much
the right.
that one meme where it's Goku and Vegeta are like, I'll take all the ones on the right, you take the ones on the left.
That's
screw you, I'm taking 501.
That's
the lion descriptor. Yeah. Especially with some of the Greek overtones in the names, it reminds me of Hercules and the Nemean lion kind of idea, where your regular Athenian hero is the Space Marine, and then you have Hercules as the Astartes walking up, being like, I am the closest thing you're going to get to a god here. I'm gonna
actual demigods and heroes of myth and shit.
And their weapons are named and made for them. The cloak of the Nemean lion, the arrows of Charon's poison arrows, just all this stuff. It's the comparison level, and it's so insane to think about the power level difference there. I hate the idea of power levels anyway, but just the idea of this.
Yeah, I definitely compare it to Space Marines are Spartans, and then you have the heroes of myth that are the custodians.
Yeah.
Right.
And it kind of makes sense now that you mentioned that they predate the Thunder Warriors and the Astartes, is that they are kind of from that golden age. Golden armor, golden age, of course.
well, a lot of their gear and weapons actually are from the golden age, dark age technology. That's their premise is that they're the elite, so they get the best weapons, and thus
Yeah.
the Emperor grants them, besides the Dark Angels, allows them archaeotech weaponry.
Right.
The custodians even have their own like ghetto version of the Necron Gauss rifle.
Oh no, we'll get into that in equipment.
Yeah, that'll be really cool to talk about in equipment. But so from an organizational standpoint, though, it actually, at least to me, when I did like kind of high level look, it was a little confusing to me. So can you break down like from top down, how does that look?
Okay, so obviously a hierarchy. Are we starting from like top down, basically?
Yeah, top down.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, at the top, there's the Captain General. He is the one in charge of the custodian posts themselves, like the entire custodian honor guard. He is the only one allowed to command the custodians and is above imperial law themselves. No one can command the custodians and or the Captain General. They can only ask for his assistance. Which is
Question
why
about
when
that.
Gilliman was asking the custodians that he had to go to the Captain General first. He can't just go up to a standard custodian guard, be like, hey, go do this for me. He's like, no, you're not my boss.
I need coffee, golden servant, fetch.
He's
So
like, I'm not
he's
stacking the balls. Leave me alone.
He's the intermediary. Is the Captain General exclusively a custodian, or is that a role that's open to?
To my knowledge, the Captain General is and pretty much has always been Constantine Valdor.
Well, Constantine Valdor is the current Captain General, but he wasn't the only one after. No, Constantine Valdor was the first Captain General, but there's been others before him.
Because
After
Captain
him.
General is.
Oh yeah, because he's kind of in absentia currently, so he would have to be.
Yeah. Valaris.
Oh, honorable mention to Kitten, but anyway.
Wait, Valaris?
Yeah.
His name is Trajan.
Trajan Valaris, but
oh my goodness, it's so on the nose sometimes. I love it when the names are really on the nose like that.
Yeah.
Does he maintain a wall by any chance?
Does he maintain a wall?
No.
Or was it Trajan? No, that was Hadrian. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Like that's one thing I love about the custodians, like names, is that they're so close, like iconic other names throughout history, which is actually interesting because I forget the name of the book, but it's a book basically that once the custodians are done with like their training and once they fully become a custodian, they get rid of their name that they got from birth and they pick up a new one, and they are allowed to get their name, like their first name.
Interesting.
And
so
I'm
they
guessing they just pick it out of the book.
No, yeah. Well, this book contains like all the legendary figures like Hercules, Constantine. Oh yeah. It's, so like you'll see like Ra and Endymion, he's based on the ancient Egyptian god Ra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super.
So they have a name where they can basically name themselves after every human like mythos figure throughout human history. Like
basically
they have
replacing the
now,
legends of old with flesh and blood.
There's a bit of an irony to that, and I smell a certain sigilite's handiwork on that. I'm going to throw that out there. I don't think that was a big E idea. I think that was a sigilite being like, hey, the names are important. Put them in a book.
Well, you say that, but Dusty actually went into it in her little fanfic, and basically, like, it's pretty much theorized that all of the Primarchs are named similar to historical figures, and then they all sort of like resemble historical figures too.
There's a concept in real life called nominative determinism, which I'm a big fan of because I think narrative causality is a real thing. And it's like if you name something, it has a more like it tilts reality in favor of it.
Yeah. And then going down from the Captain General, we have I have no fucking clue.
Hold on, let me get out the list.
Sweet. He's got a list.
Oh, also, I just want to mention that the Captain General is actually a High Lord.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. He's
That's
one of the High Lords, but they normally don't involve themselves like much. Like they don't take part in much conversation. They're just there to represent the Custodes. That's it.
yeah. And I'm
They,
guessing that sort of is also a way to keep a finger on the pulse on certain organizations that
yeah.
The
go
big
bump in the night.
I, equal sign, close bracket, open bracket, equal sign.
Oh no, I was thinking more about things that go bump in the night, and also things that get pumped full of
Oh yeah.
psychotic drugs and then thrown at people
Oh
like
yeah.
a living nuclear bomb.
I don't really think the Templum is ever going to be a threat to the Emperor, but
No, well,
okay. So there was
All
that
right.
one time real early on, but he wasn't really going after Big E. He was going after like actual politicians.
right. Well, but the fact that the Officio Assassinorum, and there's a lot of other organizations besides the Officio Assassinorum, like the Inquisition, that are wrangled and or directly under the thumb of the High Lords.
Yeah.
It does kind of make sense to have a Custodes on there, if only to keep an eye on it.
Well, I think also the Custodes would also sort of like be the voice of the Emperor as like an oh shit button, they're fucking up real bad type deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to act a fool if there's a 9-foot tall, genetically
I think Custodes
tailored.
are bigger than Astartes.
Oh no,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like 100%.
Yeah,
I
and
apologize.
Astartes is what, like 8-9 feet, and then a Custodes is what, like 10-12.
I forgot that.
Do I need to get the height chart again?
Humans work on orc logic. The taller ones are the most important.
Yes.
I love that. I think it's valid.
Oh, yeah.
It's valid.
Oh no, like if you
square
really
cube
think
ought to
about
be
it,
damned.
humanity is just civilized orcs. Like
It's a vibe.
So, do you think
but-
humanity spawned from some orc spores from way back in the day?
No.
yes.
They just ran across like some natural fungicide, and they're like, "Oh, I'm good and I'm smart now. I'm gonna go make some fire."
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Why do you think we have the British?
The British are
Lion, I'm so sorry.
100% canon.
I'm used
The
to
British
It's every day. It's every fucking day now.
the British
So-
the British in 40K are a side effect of orcish colonization.
It's all right. The British always win in the end.
Rule Britannia.
They changed the parameters of victory. Like when we left, they said, "Oh, we left them
Oh,
behind."
but the Romans did that
and-
too.
Well, no. Well, when we left their rule, they said, "Oh, well, we didn't want them anyway." And then they went over to like, what is it, like fucking Oxford or whatever? Okay, change the language, make it as different as possible. Now, go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's continue.
Oh, before I just keep remembering is that the Captain General is also elected. Like it's not
Really?
yeah, it's not like a monarchy where like he's the next in line. No, like the Custodes actually vote on who the Captain General will be, not based on rank or like. Obviously, you have to have a certain amount of service to get in certain positions, but like.
Well, to be fair, they've all had at least 10,000 years of service because no one else can make a fucking Custodes anymore.
Well, I mean, the custodians are the one that can really decide who's the best of them to represent them, and to lead them, to be the voice of the emperor on politics with the high lords, to to basically be the face of the custodians, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so once we go down from the Captain General, we go down to the Custodes Tribunate, which is the Custodes Tribunate are a group of 10 veteran Custodes who act as advisors to the Captain General and are directly beneath him in terms of ranking within the Custodes. Mm-hmm. So basically, they act as the Captain General's advisors.
Yeah.
So thus, a Custodes Tribunate is a senior officer. So,
Okay. And this is where the delegation kind of begins, as the information gets filtered up. Because a thing that I did recognize, or at least, then again, if I'm off base on this, because it might be old lore, the ranking is a little bit loosey goosey, and everybody is kind of free to speak.
yeah.
Where everybody here is they are a fraternity first and foremost.
Sort of like an old style, like an original Greek democracy, kind of,
Mm.
sort of.
And
Like,
it's sort of everybody
ahead,
has their area of expertise and knowledge, and they're bringing that forth. So there's like it's kind of almost an anti example of how the Imperium functions. No offense.
Yeah.
Where everybody's hyper competent, and it's hyper rare. Like they're very case selective as opposed to R select.
Yeah.
So, like, I would kind of compare the Custodes Tribunate to like how during ancient Greece the Spartans would elect kings, where they could be like one or multiple kings. You know, but they're like, they're politicians, but they're also warriors as well. Like that's how I kind of view the Custodes, is like Spartans, kind of. Even though they're very heavily based on Greco-Roman, I kind of view them more on the side of the Spartan aspect,
Oh
because
yeah, no,
their spears and shields, like that's kind of very
also their
reminiscent.
helmets.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
That's actually a very good point.
Their helmet
Oh
structure
yeah,
is also very much...
they're very Spartan-esque, because like
Greco.
their ranking system, their organization is very like like simplistic, because like what you're here for. Like there's no unnecessary politics or
Right.
traditions and all that. Like no, you are
And Johan,
this.
you had a good point about the plumed helmets as well, and I just never thought about it that way, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like they're a mix of Greco-Roman. So
Interesting.
yeah, so
then from the... what was it?
I just want to give something about, even though the Custodes Tribunate is supposed to be 10 members, because that's how many like the max limit is.
Right.
There were only recorded 3 during the Horus Heresy, and now there are only 2 in current times. And there's only one named Custodian's Tribunate. I have no idea how to say this, so I'm just post this in.
Let me give a crack at it.
Where
Conclave Chambers.
Yeah.
I consider myself a bit of a cunning linguist.
Ixion Hale.
Yeah. He's the only named Custodian Tribunate.
Hale. That's an interesting.
Yeah. And then after under Tribunate, there's the Custodes Proconsul. There's nothing really significant about them, just another like senior officer rank. Then there's the Custodian Prefect. Then under them is the Custodian Lector.
And these are kind of sort of branching out, kind of matryoshka dolling downward, so that there's more and more of them because each reports up.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's actually a bit more hierarchical than I would have imagined initially. That's interesting.
Yeah, then Christ, where to go? Where'd my list? No. Yeah, I don't always remember this list, because I'm more focused on the shield hosts because they're cooler. But so under the lictor is the Supreme Castellan, which is a NCO rank.
Okay.
Or it's like the highest NCO rank before you become like a commissioned officer, basically. And there's the Aquila Commander.
Yes.
And then there's the Captain Commander, which he specifically commands shield hosts.
Okay, and that's where we start getting into kind of the like on table nitty gritty of this is where the organization would begin.
Yeah, this is probably the highest, like second highest rank you'd get on the tabletop. Under Captain General. There's Captain General, then there's the Captain Commander. Like that's the second highest model you could probably get.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest are just kind of filler. There's literally they're mentioned throughout books, like the prefect lictor and all that, but
Mhm.
they're not really dived into. They're just
They're-
basically to be
they're-
like,
They're really nothing special. They're filling out a rank structure essentially.
Do you think that that's going to be something that we see more of now that the custodians kind of have the green light to go out and actually do stuff?
I hope so. Obviously they're my favorite faction, so I want to see
Mhm.
them more. But
Done.
like the Aquilin commander, that sounds cool. I want to know what that is.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. You almost kind of want to see
like,
it from that perspective and be like, okay, what's
yeah,
going on here?
like flesh out the ranks. And so the
Mhm.
captain commander, it commands entire shield hosts.
Mhm.
So
And what is it? Just for the cheap seats like me, what is, in short, what would you call a shield host? Like the rough idea of it.
rough idea. Okay, so a shield host is basically like different branches of military, like Navy, Army, Marines, etc. But they're more
Mhm.
specialized. So
Interesting.
basically, they're the five main problems that the Imperium faces, and
Okay.
so they're basically these. Technically, there's more shield hosts, but they're more like they're created for that special occasion, then they're dissolved. But there's constantly always five standing. So no matter what, these five are
Mhm.
constant because they directly are involved with the protection of Terra and or the Emperor. So
Interesting.
Sort
yeah.
of like the like you got like the Ranger Battalion, and then you got like Marine Raiders and shit.
And
Those
Yeah.
are
then those can
permanent
be,
units, and then they'll
yeah.
raise a shield host or a shield company. I'm guessing
Mhm.
in
That's like
response
sort of a
to a
joint
certain threat.
operations squad for a specific thing,
Yeah.
and then it can be dissolved and they can kind of go
Yeah.
back into their
Made up from all
original
these
shield
different
host.
units, but once the op's done, they're just like, okay, go back to your units.
That's super cool. And that's actually, it's hilarious to see how, like, to compare and contrast that to, like, the Imperial Guard and the Astartes. The flexibility is probably giving them a lot of power,
Mhm.
like, a lot of ability to project force in ways that the traditional Imperial Guard or the Adeptus Astartes aren't able to do.
Mhm. Yep.
Has that ever been a problem? Actually, before we move on further into the organization, because this is kind of an organizational question,
Mhm.
has that ever been like a thing where have there ever been, for example, traitor custodies?
Okay. So technically, Custodes never willingly betrayed the Emperor.
Okay.
But um since this
I
lore
know what
is
you.
relatively new,
Yeah, the
I
end and the
don't
death.
want to say anything because it is in the end and the death. So
Okay.
I don't want to say anything because it's relatively new. But
Mm.
even me by saying that, your viewers might have an inkling of what it might be, but it's not exactly what you think.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'll tell you guys if you like remembered to ask me. I'll tell you after this, but it's
Yeah.
kind of
Sure.
yeah.
I want to
It's
avoid the spoilers because I want to go through the whole end of the end and the death.
yeah.
After I'm done with Infinite and Divine,
So,
Good book.
but
which is really good, by the way.
Mhm.
yeah. So after Captain Commander, there's
Mhm.
the Shield Captain, which is a squad leader,
Okay.
and then after him is just the basic custodian,
Okay.
Right.
and then that's it.
Honestly,
Technically, oh sorry,
no, go ahead.
oh I was like technically they're not custodies, but they are a part of the ranking system. They have thralls, which is they're the menial slave, but there's
Hmm.
uh they're pretty minor, but they're only really mentioned once during the war in the Webway. When custodians would like fire their spears, they would like throw them to their thralls, and they would reload the spears for the custodians.
It's got to be a really stressful gig.
Yeah, but
Imagine
they're
keeping up
like
with the
Yeah,
custodians. Ugh.
that's
right, but
definitely
they
like
live in the Imperial Palace with the custodians, so
Yeah.
they even though they're thralls, they probably have the highest living standard out of the entire Imperium. Like they have the best food,
Yeah, right.
best protection. They're
Hell of a
untouchable.
work regimen, I imagine.
Hello, pet gunslave.
Have
How
those
are you?
spears?
Yeah, basically, hello, gunslave. Reload my weapon for me.
No. I'm
Yeah, it only weighs half a
imagining
ton.
like the everyday thing. It's like, hello, gunslave. How is your life today? And it's like, we were short on food. Do not worry. And then he goes, and then the custodian like leaves the palace, knocks off a luxury food importer, and then shows back
Goes on a
up.
personal
Here,
crusade.
feast.
I'm just
Yeah,
imagining.
it's like
just
don't worry, I will fix this. And like it cuts like an inquisitor be like, sir, your luxury food shipment was stolen. What?
It was reappropriated. I'm just imagining that like the thralls just have the biggest, nicest workout room, because if they cannot heft that spear when it counts, that's got to be
Imagine
be
the
a bad
Sisters of
time.
Battle willing to put out.
Oh, I don't think the sisters actually like the custodians.
Really?
Yeah, like they also don't like the Space Marines. Like, obviously they don't like the Space Marines.
Because
A lot
traitors
because
and
they went traitor, so they got that stinky history.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I feel like they don't. Obviously, they see them as like the guardians of the like emperor, so like they obviously have that like that holy virtuism. But outside of that,
It's
I
probably
don't
pretty
think they
complicated.
really view them as like real though. Like they only view them as like myth.
Yeah, and
Like
they're rare enough to make that valid.
Yeah, because the only time sisters ever contacted custodians was during the age of apostasy, where they.
Oh God, that whole debacle.
Yeah.
What a clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically the custodians didn't really stop them from fighting, but like, hey, can we talk to you for a second? Go talk to the. Like they basically went to the leader of the pre Sisters of Battle, which were called the Brides of the Emperor. They're like, hey, go talk to the Emperor. Like, what?
Go talk to this guy. Go.
Yeah, go. And then like she walks out with like white hair and then shoots the fucking guy.
Yeah, I just imagine that the custodians knew what was going to happen, and they're just sitting there and they're like, let's go.
No. I imagine they're like
Big E had a sense
around.
of humor.
No, I imagine they're standing around in the throne room and they're like, bro, you hear about what's happening out there? Yeah. And it's like,
I think it was actually Valdor that we get that from.
Yeah, and then he's like, it'd be funny. What?
Because isn't it Valdor that said that he was like, yeah, the Emperor has a massive sense of humor. He just really loves irony.
I mean, he named because the Adeptus Astartes after Astarte who made the Space Marines after she died.
Right.
So
there's
even though this is the same woman that basically doomed the Imperium by throwing the Primarchs into the warp, he still was like, haha.
Wait,
exactly. So I'm just imagining that's exactly what the custodians
person?
did.
Yeah, Erda Astarte.
Oh.
Oh, right. Yeah, that new canon.
Yeah, and also that's
she's honestly the
Primarch's mom. No, she's a fucking co-worker at best.
Yeah, we can go. We have to do an episode about her.
She is the only positive addition to Erebus' lore.
I know, and I hate it so much.
She made him slightly redeemable.
You know what you're gonna do though? You're gonna hate Erebus more after you read part 3.
Oh, is it that bad?
Oh,
it's like.
Don't
I'm not
worry.
gonna spoil it, but it's like, how could you do this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
I actually have a question from an organizational and logistics standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that there's 10,000 that they put their armor down when they're not at 100%.
Yes.
How are they getting replacement? How are they doing replenishment? Do they have a stock of people that are prepared, that are aspirants, that are like what is that?
So this kind of feeds into their tradition from old Terra and old Night, from when the Emperor was a warlord during the Unification War, is that the Emperor would actually take the children of the warlords he conquered and like other like leaders. He would take their children and use them as like political hostages. But he wouldn't tell them what would happen to their children. But in the background, he would make them become his custodies.
Okay.
So like Constantine Valdor's mother, for example, was the woman that stole the last of the oceans on Terra. You know, I don't know if you guys remember that part of the lore when
No.
ah, Christ, now I gotta remember. But so basically, there's just like the Emperor sent out Constantine Valdor to kill his own mom. Basically, it was really fucked up because like Constantine, he didn't acknowledge. Oh wait, no, it wasn't his mom. It was Ra and Dimian's mom. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little everywhere, but yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So basically, so with that, you know, taking warlords and other powerful people's children, that continued on to current day 41st millennia, where the important people of Terra. So all the recruits come specifically from Terra themselves. So like, you know, mayors, politicians, like they have this huge ceremony where all these powerful leaders of Terra, you know, from like high lords to just local sector leaders, would offer their children as like tribute to the emperor, which, you know, they offer their, yeah. And sometimes they even, I don't want to say competition, but they basically try to give the custodians as many of their children as possible. Like they will have children just to give the custodians to get more political power.
And that kind of makes sense if you're thinking from the standpoint of one of these nobles being like, hey, I want to be able to say that I have this. It obviously, in reality, they don't have any sway with the Legion of Custodes, but to be able to be like, yeah, my 78th son is a Custodes. Haha, get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but
yeah, okay. 77 were Custodes as well.
And that's another thing too, is that the custodians never tell them that their kids died or didn't make it. They always say, "Here, you know, he is a he's in the arms of the emperor now. You know, he's with the emperor. You know, he's one of his 10,000." But they never say like, "Yeah, your kid didn't make it."
That's really interesting.
Because the
so
custodians are
these
invincible.
nobles believe that one of these and like, you know, the custodians,
since they drop their names, nobody can know, and they're always wearing their armor, so it's impossible to tell.
Yeah,
that's super interesting.
Yeah,
so
like
they do have they have a replacement mechanism. Their technology, I'm guessing they kind of have cloistered that dark tech for themselves.
Yeah, so they actually have a sect of the AdMech that make all their gear for them. Like technically, they're not a part of the AdMech. They are under Imperial rule, specifically under the Custodes, but they are technically still governed by the oh god, what's the AdMech's leader?
The Cult Mechanicus or the Fabricator General?
Fabricator General. Yep, him.
Technically,
they still follow him, but only him. Like they don't listen to anyone else. And even then, the custodians are like, basically, the custodians have like a supervised visit whenever whenever he comes over. So like, yeah, you can talk to them, but we have to be there, and they're not allowed to tell you certain things. So there's even cults within the like that sect of the AdMech that worship specific branches of custodians equipment. So like there's a cult that actually worships the Mesri Corda, which is this dagger / sidearm that the custodians use. You know, like on minis, they have like that little blade behind their back.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's I can't say that because that is spoilers. I got spoiled about that, and I'm kind of pissed. Yeah. I don't want to talk about daggers made out of stone.
Anyway,
but
after the ranks, we have the general organization, and then there's chambers and like shield host. What's up with that?
So, I'm not really well versed in the chambers.
You have the
I'm more-
companions. You have the Hirakanatoi.
Yeah.
Iconatoi, Tharanatoi, Cataphractoi, Epheroi, I think, and then the
Let me see.
Moratoi,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Don Kanatoi. That's a hard one for me to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to say Dahaka toy, but Dahaka is Persian, not Greek.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Oh,
A little bit of linguistics.
So each chamber is all custodians belong to a caste or chamber determined by their tactical role.
Okay, so it's kind of their special, like their individual specialization.
Mm-hmm. The companions are the 300 that fight with the emperor, basically.
Oh, that's so on the nose.
Or I guess another way to look at it is like a military MOS. Like, what is your
yeah? Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect description.
So the 300. Obviously they're the personal protectors of the emperor who are within his chambers 24/7.
Then you have the High Kanatoi, who wield the Guardian Spear, bodyguards of the Emperor, and executioners of anyone who would offer threat or opposition to his will. They're the stereotypical.
I was to say those are the ones that
foot slogger
beat the shit out of things when the blood games happen.
Say again. What about the blood games?
I'm guessing that the Haikanatoi are the ones that are like, oh, here comes some Chaos Space Marines that somebody teleported in here. Let me just.
Yeah.
Well, the High Kanatoi are like they're basically the mainline custodians you see. Golden.
They're the they're the 11 Bravos and the 0311s and shit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like they are the custodians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, kind of how the Cadians are the guard. Got it.
And then you have their, cavalry in the form of the Tharanatoi, which are, as far as I can tell, these are
Terminators.
They're the Terminators.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Terminator Custodes. Oh, crap.
I love the look of their Terminators.
Yeah. Then you have the actual cavalry, the Cataphractoi, who ride jet bikes.
That's interesting that they called it a Cataphractoi because
Cataphract,
armor.
The old Roman late Roman chainmail clad horse cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See that's that Greco-Roman reference.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're the only ones that I like their jet bikes out of all the
Imperial
factions
design.
the Imperial factions. They're the only jet bikes that I like.
Yeah.
I take offense.
A bit of a downside to Alf is that he does not like. He doesn't like hover vehicles at all.
I do not.
Which is a sin, because one of my favorite Astartes vehicles is the Land Raider? Land Cruiser? Land Speeder, fuck, yeah.
Land Speeder. Yeah, I just don't. Because I just remember playing Eldar with their jet bikes, and I'm like, oh, these look like...
These look
very sad.
Fragile, yeah.
Yeah, these look like sad. They look like cargo containers with grav repulsors that's strapped to them.
Okay, and then there's the Epheroi.
Epheroi, yeah.
Those of the order that are tasked with covert operations, counter surveillance, and the vitally important task of simulated attack and infiltration. So these are the guys that beat up on the Custodes during blood games and shit.
Yeah, those are the ones that be like, hey, oh look, there's some Chaos Space Marines. Let's just yoink those and just throw them in the palace.
Yeah, well, technically, any custodians could be like the oppressor to try to get into the Imperial Palace, but the Efroy are the covert ops. Like they are like the Navy SEALs of the custodians. Like they are like in and out. Like we were never here type stuff.
Yeah.
So
And there's, from what I've read, there's actually like some factions of the Imperium, or there are those who have posited that where the Foroi ended and the powers that controlled the Officio Assassinorum began at certain junctures was difficult even for the wisest of the High Lords of Terra to discern. And it
That
is
kind of brings
certain
back.
when they wished that the assassins of the Temples of Terra were the Legio Custodes to command.
That kind of comes back to the Captain General being on the High Lords of Terra, because he does have his fingers in that pie. He does have a level of oversight over the Officio Assassinorum.
So basically, there's people that say the Officio Assassinorum should belong to the Custodes.
Right. Which is a terrifying concept, and I'm sure that the High Lords of Terra are... I'm sure there's plenty of the High Lords of Terra.
I think it's said that there's a faction in the High Lords that kind of think that too, but you know, it's just a faction. It's politics. What do you expect?
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was just gonna say, I mean, if you really think about it, how do you think the assassins know where to strike their targets? You know, I'm just saying. You know, the custodians have the eyes of the emperor, so who's to say they report to the Captain General? Then the Captain General tells the assassins, like, "Hey, thought I'd let you know I'd leave this on your desk."
What you do with it is
like
your
no, it's like
discretion.
maybe like there's a timing difference, and like anytime like an officio like supervisor gets a target, he just like sits down at his desk to start doing the paperwork, and there's always like a piece of paper there folded with like details and shit.
Yeah, just a neat little perfect calligraphic script in high Gothic, because you know that every single one of these guys' handwriting is immaculate.
100%.
Like a fucking photocopier.
Yeah.
But like then there might be like a timing fuck up, like the courier is late or whatever, and then he just sits down at his desk and there's a piece of paper and he's like, oh, we're about to get a target, boys.
So on from the Epheroy is the Moritoi, which is
Dreadnoughts.
Like, oh god, a dreadnought Custodes, and they look so cool. They definitely distinguish themselves as being Dark Age of technology. They are much more men of iron than they are big chunky boy.
Here's something interesting. The first of these was made while the Unification Wars were being fought in a modified Golem pattern dreadnought.
That's a name.
The first iteration of its kind, intended for use within the Thunder Legions.
So this was like originally... Oh, that's super... That makes sense, but it's also kind of... So Golem, that's... Oh boy. That's a spooky fucking name.
We'll get to it later.
And it makes me kind of, again, I get vibes of Men of Iron from these.
Though they remained relatively rare, with less than perhaps 100 dreadnoughts of the Legio Custodes in service at the time of Magnus the Red's folly and the subsequent attack on Prospero, they represented a phenomenally powerful concentration of force.
That is probably an understatement. I'm terrified of these.
Oh yeah, like they are enormous. Like they, like to get
so.
This, like,
did you ever see TTS?
They are basically like a midget knight, basically.
Yeah.
Like this is how big they are.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's like a little fucking like preteen knight, essentially.
Yeah, like they can hold their own against like knights. That's how big and powerful they are.
Like
they also have giant fucking halberds with what is that, a las cannon or something?
So it could be a las cannon or like a bolter 2.0 on it, and those are only used by the Legio Custodes Contemptor Achilles dreadnoughts, which are specifically designed to be more like nimble, to be more melee based.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm looking at one now, Contemptor Achilles,
Keyless pattern, yeah, I see.
and it's got
I'm
a
thinking I'm looking at
giant
someone.
fucking like glaive. It's a mix between like a sword and a glaive kind of, and it's got this giant
Yeah.
fuck off cannon on.
Hold on,
It's the
hold on,
Guardian Spear turned up. Like it's super
Well,
interesting.
like the haft of the
Here,
spear
I'll post
itself
it.
is pretty short.
Yeah, look in the conclave real quick. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So we're looking at the same
Yeah, like
thing.
that is like enormous. And then there's the Gladius, which is the sword variant. You know, sword and shield.
Oh no.
Very, very Roman.
Yeah. Oh no.
And that's absolutely a power weapon.
Oh, well, and I don't know if you noticed, but those are melta guns, by the way.
Oh no.
Yeah, those are double barrel melta guns. So
He has a multi-melta power sword.
That's
oh my
just so
God.
excessive. I love it.
you want
That
to know
is
the most terrifying dreadnought
bitchin'.
Cody's own?
What?
The Telemon Heavy Dreadnought.
Oh no. Oh my.
Oh
Okay,
wait. Oh
those
This
have
no.
to be
thing
like.
is so
I'm gonna
okay.
say
So like,
something.
So
Yeah,
it's
go
got a
ahead.
whirlwind launcher. It's got like the fucking vortex launcher or whatever. I think
Mhm.
from like the from that one pattern of Titans, the Reaver pattern.
It is a shrunken down whirlwind fucking pattern like missile pod.
Oh god.
I'm gonna
What are
ruin
those?
I'm gonna
What are
ruin this
those
for you.
arm
Are you ready?
cannons? Go ahead.
Don't, please don't.
I'm everybody's gonna get really mad at me in about a second. Are you ready?
I fucking hate you.
Anyway,
That looks
what the
fun.
fuck are those arm cannons?
So with this, like the Telemon Heavy Dreadnought, they actually have specific loadouts that they can have. They have like power fists. They have those cannons, and they can even have arms that can, you know, like use the melee weapons in the previous other dreadnoughts. But because of the way that their arms are made, they're not advised to use like that.
Oh.
Like they're basically supposed to be the gun dreadnought.
Yeah, man with gun Esquire. I got it and I love it.
Right, gotcha.
And
No, but
the
like,
funny
what
thing about the
are those
Telemon Heavy
guns?
Dreadnought, I'll talk to them in a minute, but the Telemon Heavy Dreadnought, just to give you an idea how powerful they are, during Gilliman's Crusade to Terra and when Khorne unleashes, Horde on Terra.
Right.
A Telemon Heavy Dreadnought 1v1'd a Bloodthirster and won.
All right. Well, that's
Okay.
that's a hell of a
That's
power
bitchin'.
scale.
Anyway,
Like just to give you an idea how powerful these. Like I honestly believe 2 of these could kill a Primarch, 100%.
I wouldn't be that surprised. Well, it depends on the Primarch. You probably wouldn't need that much for some of them.
Okay, and then let's get on.
What I think you're gonna say.
Not you. No, they would have to throw 3 at Lion.
Anyway,
Lion's got that sword, man. That sword's terrifying.
All right,
to get on with it.
The Nakatoi is the last one.
They are the one. They were founded in the from what I've read, they were founded at the end of the Horus Heresy and told, "Go fuck."
All right. That works. That works for me. It's kind of funny though, because I was going to point this out with the Moritoi. Moritoi in the eyes of the Emperor, there's probably some weirdness there, because like I'm wondering which one is a more honorable position.
Oh, so technically the Moritoi, the Dreadnought Custodes, not ordinary Custodes are allowed within it. Only heroes of the Custodes are allowed.
Yeah, that makes sense with the name Moritoi, which basically in Greek screams at me death warrior.
Yeah,
right.
Basically what the Moritoi are, it's translated the honored dead who walked.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though it's reserved for heroes or notable warriors, they also, in very rare circumstance, if a custodian is injured beyond repair, he can voluntarily offer
Basically
himself to
be
become a dreadnought.
Nice.
That's nuts.
So or the custodians when they go from 100% to 99%, instead of becoming an Eye of the Emperor, and if there's an open dreadnought, they could offer themselves to be entombed into it.
Nice.
That's a terrifying concept.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Eyes of the Emperor,
Right.
they're the next chamber.
Technically.
Though functionally immortal, even the warriors of the Adeptus Custodes eventually tire. Some suffer physical hurts that impact upon their ability to perform their duties, with lost limbs, artificial eyes, or augmetic organs, lessening their physical perfection.
Which is nuts to say.
Yeah.
Because that means that even Dark Age of technology tech can't keep up with the peak of their human genetic engineering.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling concept.
Oh, yeah.
I totally agree with it. I think organic is the way to go. I say as a robot. Having had both, I would rather have a fleshy body.
Yeah. Others find their mental faculties beginning to erode, however slightly, acknowledging that their reaction times or mimetic awareness are not quite what they once were. For the vast majority of warriors, a 1/10 of a second reduction in the speed at which blows are struck or parried might be considered negligible. For Custodes, it is error enough to necessitate that their watch come to an end.
And I love how that's voluntary.
Yeah,
a custodian would never go to another one and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to let you go."
No,
that's so cool.
It is up to them. They're like, "Damn, I'm not good enough. I can't protect the Emperor at the state that I'm at.
Yeah,
I need to surrender. I can't risk the Emperor's safety."
It speaks in one part to their fanaticism, but it also speaks to this honor, this sort of heroism of knowing when to step back.
Yeah.
The one thing, if I were to ever want to see anything, I would love to see an Eyes of the Emperor thing, but he takes on the role of Philatides, where he's raising heroes because he no longer can be one. That would be really interesting to see come out of the Black Library, in my opinion.
Technically, there is a story based on that.
Is there?
Yeah. Marshal Helbrecht was actually protected by an Eye of the Emperor during his childhood.
Nice.
Oh, right, because that's a thing that they do.
Yeah.
Yep. Technically, that's the
that's one of the shield hosts. Yeah.
But the Eyes of the Emperor, because obviously the Quilling Shield is a shield host, but they protect more important people that are a higher priority people to protect. Where
they have a
Eyes
spark
of the Emperor basically keep an eye on.
The Aquila.
Yeah.
They're probably my favorite.
And then that's all of the
yeah, I believe that's all of them.
There's a whole thing about their tactical formations, but I think we can get more into that with equipment because it's mostly just what they use. You have the Shadow Keepers. Well, first off, we'll get into the notable shield hosts, the permanent ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are interesting.
Oh yeah.
Because literally, word one, it's the Wardens of the Dark Cells.
Yes.
And even I, as a lore neophyte, I know what the Dark Cells are, and just hearing about them makes me go, nope. I'm gonna hide under the desk. Bye. See you later.
For reference, there are terrible things locked away beneath the Emperor's palace. Eldritch terrors from the depths of old night that could annihilate the Imperium. To the Shadow Keepers falls the duty of standing guard over them unto the end of time. The Shadow
and we have to remember these guys are immortal.
Yeah.
So that's not like a haha, end of time, maybe. It's there's probably a really angry crud hanging out in the Dark Cells that's just as soon as I get out of here, I swear to God, I'm going to mess with you so much.
There's actually a rumor that like those Lovecraftian monsters like Cthulhu,
Yeah.
like those level of entities are under the Imperial Palace.
Yeah, like Shoggoth.
Like galaxy threatening like entities, like
The
things that not only threaten humanity but the stabilization of the galaxy itself
yeah,
are
like
locked.
like if the Emperor could have gotten his plans through, the Chaos Gods would definitely end up in.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine putting the Chaos Gods in the Dark Souls? That would be a really big holding chamber.
Funny.
That'd be a hell of a holding chamber.
Putting Slanesh in a sensory deprivation cell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's if during the Great Crusades, if they couldn't kill it, they locked it up, basically.
Yep.
And it's not even just like entities or like different monsters or species. It's also technology that is also locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally anything that threatened it, even knowledge, like actual
One wonders
knowledge.
if there's maybe
like,
a Votan hanging out down there.
A Votan?
Yeah, they're abominable intelligences.
Oh, are you talking about their fucking their AI?
Yeah, they're big brains. They're big AI brains.
Well, technically, those are STCs, basically.
Yeah, they kind of went rampant. Yeah, which is I would love to do a thing on Votan at some point, but the dark Shadow Keepers, those are the ones that like you don't see and you really don't want to see.
Yeah, because
if you see a Shadow Keeper, you should be scared.
Yeah, outside of the Imperial Palace. We're talking like
even then
the end times level bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so terrifying. Yeah.
Going on from that, you have the Aquilin Shield, the Gilded Guardians,
Shiny
who
boys.
will literally seek out and find random people. I'm guessing through the eyes of the Emperor. I'm assuming many of them are, like, many eyes of the Emperor might, like, work closely with the Aquilin Shield. But they essentially seek out seemingly random-ass people who might save or otherwise benefit the Emperor in some way, shape, or form, from the lowliest hive worker up to fucking officers and shit, like
they were
war masters.
Yeah, because they were originally like relying on the Doom Scryers, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do most of the heavy lifting, but that's kind of fallen out of vogue because of like concerns because they are psychers, the Doom Scryers. So it's like, do we really want to trust a psyker?
Yeah, but the Doom Scryers communicate with the through the warp to communicate with the Emperor himself. Yeah. So they're given more.
Do they?
Yeah, that's the eyes
horrifying.
Of the Emperor. Oh yeah, so that's how the Custodes interpret orders from the Emperor are through the Doom Scryers. Also, technically through dreams, but that's more unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Because I'm guessing that the custodians, because they're human, they probably have some kind of psychic predisposition.
Well, the Custodes are actually don't have any they're not blanks, but they're basically hardened to the warp. So
so they don't wield that they're a bulwark against it.
They will not falter at all. And technically, they're actually weak to warp fuckery. That's why there's the Sisters of Silence to act as like a warp.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a kind of a screening force.
Yeah, basically.
Interesting.
And then you have, going on from them, you have the Dread Host, instrument of the Emperor's wrath,
aka government-funded terrorism.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
They're like
Emperor-backed skull fuckings at your convenience.
Yeah.
or the best way I could put it is custodian night lords.
Oh God.
Jesus.
They are they are the one thing anyone they will use the most brutal tactics. Like they will tear your asshole out of your mouth and then look at you in the eyes and be like, "You're next." Like,
it's the
yeah,
anger and punishment of the Emperor made manifest. That's
Yeah,
just
they are his
to-
wrath.
yeah. To summarize, the Dread Hosts have smashed Orc Wogs, obliterated rebellious star systems, and crushed traitor crusades. They have fought against enemies thousands of times their number and humbled them through strategy, speed, and strength. With every campaign, they spread the terror of the Emperor's wrath.
Yeah.
that's so insane. Because again, you think about how intelligent your custodians are. They have all of this knowledge from all of this time and all of this awareness and experience, and imagine them just pointing it at something with full violence.
Like, just to tell you the strength of the Dread Host, they are the second biggest shield host within the custodies. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of members.
And when
And
each member is
so
effectively a
specialized.
walking army.
Oh yeah, like just to give you an idea of another custodies thing. 5 Dread Host members took on an invading Tyranid army of 1 million life forms, from
And
the
Ginsued that shit.
like Carnifexes to the smallest swarmer units.
The little Ripper
Rippers.
swarms.
Yeah.
Rippers.
Yeah.
Like,
I
they
love
killed
Rippers.
1 million of them, and 5. Well, okay, there were 6 of them. 5 died, but there was 1 standing.
Imagine.
Those 6 custodies, for the price of 5 custodies, stopped a Tyranid invasion and killed 1 million of them.
You say that again, but like Billy Mays.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Billy Mays here.
The Solar Watch.
Yes, the Solar Watch, Castellans of the Blessed Worlds. They watch Soul. To put it bluntly.
Yeah, it's kind of what it says on the tin, and it's super funny because they are the holy worlds.
I kind of have, like, in my mind's eye, they have little, like frigates or gun cutters or whatever that just roll around like police cruisers in Seoul, and they just pull people over.
And the cruisers have to have the giant the front,
light bars.
Not the front, the big poof, the God, what is the name of it? I want to say pommel, but it isn't. The big puffball on the top of the head. The crenellation.
Mm-hmm.
Just waving in space. This big red mop top. Just
their ships have the plumes.
Yes, they just giant, and the plume is to scale, so it's like this massive thing. It's a logistic nightmare to land it.
I'm imagining it's like that, and then they have little fucking red and blues, or like golden reds.
Yeah.
And they just pull up behind someone, and then wee woo pull over. There's the Solar Watch.
But in truth, they're probably they're one that I would have loved to see more of in things like the Invasion of Terra. I'm sure that they were mentioned, but having their perspective of seeing it, oh god, there's a thing coming. Kind of deal.
So interesting fact. Though they typically travel via naval craft and interstellar trade ships, the Solar Watch maintains a formidable concentration of venerable land raiders and are typically able to deploy forces that are predominantly, if not entirely, mechanized.
Oh, they're in tanks. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Custodes tanks.
Yeah.
And dreadnoughts.
Moving on, we have the emissaries Imperatus, heralds of the Golden Throne.
These are their angels.
Yeah. These are hey bud, just a warning, you're kind of fucking up, stop it.
Can you imagine seeing that for the first time and it just says, hey, you're not doing it right, do this.
Yeah.
And they just leave.
It's like your first time seeing a Custodes, and he's like, you're fucking up, stop it. Basically,
they hand you a list of instructions that are in perfect high Gothic, hand calligraphied, hand illuminated, that they made on the way here, and they're just like, here, if you follow these, you won't have a problem.
Yeah.
And it's all correct.
Okay. The Emperor often entrusted crucial messages or artifacts to be borne by his custodians. So yeah, they are absolutely just emissaries of the Emperor, and just is that's kind of downplaying them. Duties, we've kind of already gone through duties. They watch everything, but most specifically the Imperial Palace.
And their duties have changed.
Yeah, it's changed
recently.
Throughout the years. Yeah, recently.
Well, especially in recent editions, and this is why they've become it's kind of a chicken and egg question, I'm sure, but they're a playable army now, which means they have to be on the battlefield. And as much as I love the idea of 7,000 sieges of Terra, that is not going to happen, canonically anyway. So if you want them to be fighting things like Necrons and Eldar and all this other stuff, they have to be out in the galaxy. I'm guessing that's kind of why that lore change. I am a huge fan of that, personally. I think having the Custodian be going out there and being more active, the idea that the Emperor is kind of beginning to actually act as opposed to be a silent observer stuck in his cage. Oh, I feel so... I actually feel bad for Big E because of how... God, that's pure torture, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yep.
That sucks.
So... God damn it, there was a fucking list of all of this shit I saw earlier.
I have it up here. Hang on, I pull it.
We
did duties, we do equipment. We kind of touched on a lot of the equipment when we went through the various subtypes.
So basically, it's a lot of power blades with... It's a lot of like power blades and halberds with gun on the end.
Which
pretty much blade gun.
Totally a vibe.
Yeah, it's more, more aesthetically accepable compared to like a gun sword. Because it's just a rifle with a huge bayonet, essentially.
It kind of harkens back to the original handguns. Back. Early firearms. It was literally a cannon spear.
Oh, yeah. They'd have like a halberd head on it, and you just like fire it. And
combi weapons were, not unpopular. They were not normally used for massed ranked soldiers. And that's the interesting thing, is that the unique weaponry and things like combi weaponry and specialized handcrafted gear, it makes sense for things like Knight Errants. And if you look at things like a small sidebar, the Talhofer manuscript it mentions all of these esoteric weaponry because they weren't being used by rank and file. They were being used in specific or unusual contexts or by specific or unusual people. Same concept.
So, for instance, they have Guardian Spears, Spear with Bolter, a Castellan Axe, which is heavy blade.
It's a halberd. It's a halberd with a bolter attached to it. I think we actually have a picture of that.
It is. Yeah, it's down there. Sentinel Blade, unique weapon of the brutal where the Guardian Spear is precise. Hyper Pulse Disruption Field Generators. Okay.
I'm guessing that's sort of like the Rosaria, if I'm not wrong.
While built into the blade is a double-barrel bolter able to lay down a hail of fire at short range.
Oh, so I was completely wrong. I must have misheard you. I thought you were talking about a repulsor.
No, Hyper Pulse Disruption Field Generators. It's a super power sword.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's using the power cleaving. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love the power cleaving.
They have power gauntlets and power talons. Just,
of course.
Custodes flavored, so probably 1,000 times better.
Probably arc attack at that point.
Yeah. The Interceptor Lance, for when you want to jet bike your way into battle. It is an enormous power weapon with a deadly spear tip. Used exclusively by the jet bike.
So they have the knight, like the lance charges. They actually have... Oh, that's so... God, that's so cool.
Masters of the hit and run strikes driving their lance clean through their precisely chosen targets before ripping them clear again as they speed past. Oh god.
I need to make a...
These guys could, like, fucking melee charge tanks and win.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
So the Venatari Lance, two-handed power weapon wielded by the Venatari Custodes that also has a single-barrel Archaeotech repeater for ranged combat.
Kinetic Okay. It's a hyper Glock. I got you.
Yeah.
I love that like half of their stuff is Architect because
Yeah.
again it makes sense.
They have Volt Swords and shit, but that's
Yeah,
like
which are just power swords that are
Archaeotech
even-
Power Sword. There you go.
yeah, it's super insane.
Then you get into the ranged weapons. Apparently, that was only their assault weapons.
And that's what they're most. But that's the thing is that's what they're most known for. If we're gonna be completely
that's
honest,
what
is
they're
getting
seen with. You
stuck in and really murking things.
You have Adrathic weapons. Uses a potent but dangerously unstable energy beam to sever the internal bonds of matter.
AKA the Gauss rifle. The
I was about to say
no.
that is literally just a okay, yeah.
Here, look,
Yeah.
look in Chambers real quick. Like that.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
a linked version.
Of course they do.
Oh no!
More barrels, more better, right? Well, I mean,
uh,
if you alternate their fire, you could have it so that one barrel's cooling while one barrel's firing.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that kinda
much
makes
how
sense.
like combi weapons work.
Yeah, yeah.
The Adrastus Bolt Cavalier, developed as a hybrid of later pattern Imperial bolter weapon designs and Dark Age of technology Adrastite disintegration beams.
It's a commie weapon. And I
It's
like
a
I said before, there's going to be a lot of
shoulder
combi
arm.
weapons.
Serving as a
'Cause-
portable heavy weapon for the Adeptus Custodes. This combination weapon is
It's a
the
heavy weapon
potency
for.
of heavy bolters.
I'm sorry. It's a heavy weapon for a Custodes. Oh,
It's a
yeah.
heavy
God.
bolter that's been turned into a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Lastrom Stormbolter and Bolt Cannon. Yeah, you know what a Stormbolter is. A Bolt Cannon is typically minigun.
Right.
Archaeotech Kinetic Destroyer. Pistols only used by Venatari, blah blah blah. It's a cavalry carbine, essentially.
That's so. I love that. I'm actually. I kind of looked ahead.
So
I remember how I said I hate the
Grad-
hover tanks
yeah.
and the hover vehicles. I really actually like these.
Yeah. So all of their vehicles are essentially just grab this tank, APC, bike,
And
two different patterns of bike.
this is only reinforcing my disdain for the Astartes having grav, the Astartes and the Imperial Guard having grav vehicles, because imagine how much cooler this would be if it's like only the like this is Archaeotech and it's just like
Yeah.
only the Custodes have it. Oh,
The Orion
it's-
dropships, which is superior.
I'm gonna say I'm guessing the Orion dropship actually kind of reminds me of a Pelican from Halo. Yeah.
Not quite.
And I think that shape, and I don't mean to say that they copied it, because that body shape is very common in spaceships, but it always kind of denotes that sort of dropship vibe, because it's kind of inspired by things like
Oh, they have a gunship. One sec. Let's look at that.
Helos, effectively.
Oh yeah.
It's basically Helo turned sideways. And I love those.
Yeah.
I love that aesthetic, is what I'm trying to say, is that this is just making it's selling me more and more on Custodes. I was gonna go do a Necron army, and now I'm kind of feeling like Custodes.
And then they have all of the dreadnoughts, Venerable
Right,
Contemptor,
I
Telemann Heavy, Contemptor Gladius, and
I want to
contemporary
do a.
kills.
I want to do an episode that, if we can cut this out, but if Biggie is willing, I would love to just do an episode on the Dreadnoughts because they
Oh,
are
yeah.
so cool looking.
I say do it on
love the
like
Dreadnoughts.
do one on
I feel like
Dreadnoughts in
that could be a whole ass thing
yeah.
right there.
There
So
are a lot of different variants. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And the weapons that they use, like, oh,
Yeah.
brother.
and the lore
Uh,
and the lore around it, like interesting stories about the Dreadnoughts and like how they came to be and all this other stuff. Because that would be really fun.
As well as
that
different
and the
characters.
Emperor himself helped manufacture them with his own hands. Like the fact that they were touched by the Emperor, like,
yeah.
That about covers their equipment.
Yes.
So, in conclusion, yeah,
Custody is cool.
I have been. I was really literally looking up Necrons before this to start building an army, and now that I'm looking at all of this and I see the lore and Biggie, you sold it to me that this is. It's so. It just sounds fun, and it sounds like from a tabletop standpoint, it sounds like this would be something really fun for me. If I give my outside view, again, lore baby, total neophyte, coming out of this, I'm kind of seeing the Custodes as this force that was held as a precious reserve, too good to use almost, and now it's being loosed upon the universe in a genuine context by quite literally the orders of the Emperor.
Yep.
And is now active in the universe, and everything that Big E dislikes should be fucking terrified.
Oh yeah.
Like just to give you a reference on how much the Custodes mean to the Emperor, the 5 Custodes that have died, like during the that died during the invasion of that orc world where Horus was made War Master.
Was that?
I know which one you're talking about.
I can't remember that
the
world.
Olenor War or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So 3 Custodes died there, and 2 more before that. Those 5 Custodes, he had their names put onto his armor so he could remember them.
Oh my god! All right, hell yeah.
He didn't even give that luxury to like his sons.